So today, the topic is to whom much is given. All right. The reason why I chose that title is because there's a lot that is required of us. As we gain more responsibility in this truth, as we gain more knowledge, more wisdom, there are more ways to apply that wisdom, and there are more jobs for us to do in our roles. All right. And throughout the scriptures, we get examples of that throughout the scriptures. We do get examples of that throughout the scriptures. So today's example is going to be Joseph. And I'm going to cover multiple of our forefathers on this topic, to whom much is given. All praises Jonah. So the first thing, well, let me get the disclaimer first. Israel United in Christ, we are not a hate group. We are not affiliated with any other Israelite group. Israel United in Christ is a non-violent Bible-based movement. We do not advocate or condone any acts of violence against any race, ethnicity, or gender. We advise that if anyone hears or knows of any plots to cause harm to anyone or to break the laws of the land, you must contact the proper authorities to bring awareness to any possible threat, as stated in Leviticus chapter 5, verse 1. All right, Jonah is going to be described today. So looking at what is given to us as an example in the scriptures. As a matter of fact, let's start off with that. Romans chapter 15, verse 4. Romans chapter 15, verse 4, starting off. It says, For whatsoever things were written aforetime were written for our learning, that we through patience and comfort of the scriptures might have hope. So things that was written aforetime, things that was written in the Old Testament, was written for us to learn from. That's why I don't get it when Christians say the Old Testament is done away with, because you're supposed to look in the Old Testament and learn from it. You're supposed to look in the Old Testament and learn from it. All right. So what we're going to learn from is the role that Joseph was given and the things that were required of him to go through in order to maintain that role. All right. We're going to start in Genesis chapter 37. I'm going to start in Genesis chapter 37. And we're going to start at verse 1. All right. Genesis chapter 37, verse 1. And it reads, And Jacob dwelt in the land wherein his father was a stranger, in the land of Canaan. These are the generations of Jacob. Joseph, being 17 years old, was feeding the flock with his brethren. And the lad was with the sons of Bilhah and the sons of Zilpah, his father's wives. And Joseph brought unto his father their evil report. So, got to understand something. Joseph was applying Leviticus 5 and 1. Joseph was applying Leviticus 5 and 1. Now, we know that our people hate their evil deeds being brought forth. Joseph brought their evil deeds forth. They was doing stuff they had no business doing. So what did he do? He went and told his father. All right. Now Israel loved Joseph more than all his children, because he was the son of his old age. And he made him a coat of many colors. Also dealing with that. So not only was Joseph telling on them, but Joseph also was the favorite. Many of us know about that. Our parents, even us, you may have that one child that, you love above the rest. It's not that you treat them any differently. It's not that you show favoritism or anything like that, or any sort of respect to persons in the house. But it's just like this child, there's something special that you love about this child. All right. It could be because they look just like you. It could be because they act just like you. It could be, whatever the reason is. But he loved Joseph because he was the son of his old age. Verse 4, and when his brethren saw their father loved him more than all his brethren, they hated him and could not speak peaceably unto him. So if you knew that your brother, sister, or whatever was the favorite, you're not willing to talk peaceable, because it's like, who you think you are? Oh, hey, here come daddy little favorite. You know what I'm saying? It's that kind of thing. You transfer that over. There may be soldiers, officers, whatever, that are very close to leadership, who we call our spiritual fathers. They may be very close to leadership. That same mentality may run in the body. Like, oh, that's leadership little favorite. No. He may put in a lot of bricks. He may be a disciplined brother. He may be one of those ones that you can count on for everything. Those are the kind of people they want around. They don't want just anybody around. You make it to the new moon on Wednesday, but not Camp 101 on Wednesday. But this brother make it to everything. Camp 101, new moon, cleanup duty, deep cleanses, all of that stuff. Take trash out, on flyer missions, help out whatever office he can. Yeah. That's a brother that's gonna get around the leadership a lot. Some people that, hatred may come up because of that. Now watch this. So to give you the backstory, Joseph was 17. He was the favorite son, and he was always telling on his brothers about the wickedness that they was doing. Now watch this. And Joseph dreamed a dream, and he told it his brethren, and they hated him yet the more. And he said unto them, Hear, I pray you, this dream which I have dreamed. For behold, we were binding sheaves in the field, and lo, my sheaf arose and stood upright. And behold, your sheaves stood round about, and made obeisance to my sheaf. And his brethren said unto him, Shalt thou indeed reign over us? Or shalt thou indeed have dominion over us? And they hated him yet the more for his dreams and for his words. So one thing we have to understand is Joseph, the dreams that he had, our forefathers were able to interpret those dreams like that, which is why they understood, like, hold on, wait a minute, what you trying to say? You're going to reign over us? Nah, you tripping. But they hated him even more. Watch this. And he dreamed yet another dream, and told it his brethren, and said, Because I have dreamed a dream more. And behold, the sun and the moon and the 11 stars made obeisance to me. And he told it to his father and to his brethren. And his father rebuked him and said unto him, What is this dream that thou hast dreamed? Shall I and thy mother, that's the sun and the moon, and thy brethren, that's the 11 stars, indeed come to bow down ourselves to thee to the earth? And his brethren envied him, but his father observed the same. So I'm going to get you something real quick. Get Luke 12:48. Luke 12:48. Look at what's happening. The Lord is showing Joseph a vision. So in the dream, Joseph is to reign over his brethren. His mother and his father and his brethren are going to make obeisance to him, meaning bow down to him. Luke 12:48. He said, But he that knew not and did commit things worthy of stripes shall be beaten with few stripes. For unto whomsoever much is given, of him shall be much required. And to whom men have committed much, of him they will ask the more. So to whom much is given, much is required. That is a lot to give to Joseph. That's a big role for Joseph to have. Okay, for him to say, yeah, all of y'all are going to make obeisance to me because I had this dream and this is what it was, that's a big role. That means that a lot of stuff has to happen. A lot of stuff has to happen in order for him to get the end result of this dream. All right. Now, also go to Mark 6:4. Mark chapter 6, verse 4. This goes hand in hand with the responsibilities that may fall on you, brothers and sisters. All right. Mark chapter 6, verse 4. It said, but Jesus said unto them, a prophet is not without honor, but in his own country and among his own kin and in his own house. So a prophet is not without honor. People honor the prophet, except around your own country and your own kin and your own house. That's why many of you who come into this truth, many of you who grow in this truth, you may get hatred, jealousy, envy, or whatever from those that are around you, from those in your own house. You used to smoke weed a lot, but you're not doing that no more. You changed your life, and you're encouraging other people to change their life, holding them accountable as you should have been held accountable. And now everybody's like, oh, what, you think you better than me? It's not that. It's just that, I put away childish things. So now that you're changing your life, and now that you have a mission that you're on, that the Most High chose you for, now you're without honor. And most of that comes from them of your own house. All right. Let's keep on reading. And his brethren went to feed their flocks in Shechem. And Israel said unto Joseph, doth not thy brethren feed the flock in Shechem? Come, and I will send thee unto them. And they said unto him, and he said unto him, here am I. And he said to him, go, I pray thee, and see whether it be well with thy brothers, and well with the flocks, and bring me word again. So he sent him out of the vale of Hebron, and he came to Shechem. And a certain man found him, and behold, he was wandering in the field. And the man asked him, saying, what seekest thou? And he said, I seek my brethren. Tell me, I pray thee, where they feed their flocks. And the man said, they are departed hence, for I heard them say, let us go to Dothan. And Joseph went after his brethren, and found him in Dothan. And when they saw him afar off, even before they came near unto him, they conspired against him to slay him. And they said unto one another, behold, this dreamer cometh. So they were supposed to be feeding their flocks in Shechem. They wasn't there. Our forefather Jacob, aka Israel, sends Joseph. Why? Because Joseph is going to be honest. Why not? I'm going to send Joseph. Joseph, you go over there and you tell me. We all have that one brother or sister that we can go to and be like, hey, give me a report about what's going on. They're going to be honest. They're not going to lie about anything. We know that. They have brothers and sisters that are in the body that we can actually depend on to actually give a good report of what's going on in the body, what they see. That's why the scriptures say that the eyes of the Lord are 10,000 times brighter than the sun. Why? Because we can actually go to different people and be like, you know what? What's going on here? What's going on there? That's a good thing. So he went to go see what was going on with his brothers. They're like, oh, look at this dreamer coming. Verse 20. Come now, therefore, and let us slay him, and cast him into some pit, and we will say, some evil beast hath devoured him, and we shall see what will become of his dreams. So their own brother, this is our people. They wanted to kill their own brother because he had a dream. And Reuben heard it and delivered him out of their hands and said, let us not kill him. And Reuben said unto them, shed no blood, but cast him into this pit that is in the wilderness, and lay no hand upon him, that he might rid him out of their hands, to deliver him to his father again. And it came to pass, when Joseph was come unto his brethren, they stripped Joseph out of his coat of many colors that was on him, And they took him and cast him into a pit, and the pit was empty, and there was no water in it. And they sat down to eat bread, and they lifted up their eyes and looked, and behold, a company of Ishmaelites came from Gilead with their camels, bearing spicery and balm and myrrh, going to carry it down to Egypt. So imagine this. They cast him into a pit, and they sat down, and they eating bread, and they just looking at him while they eating. That's some wicked stuff. And then saw Ishmael coming, and this is what happened. Verse 26, and Judah said unto his brethren, what profit is it if we slay our brother and conceal his blood? Come, let us sell him to the Ishmaelites, and let not our hand be upon him, for he is our brother and our flesh. And his brethren were content. So, Judah, my tribe, Judah wants to make money off of the situation. All right. This is something, this is a Judite trait. If there's going to be some wickedness, we're going to get paid while doing it. So they sold Joseph to Ishmael. All right. And Joseph actually went through a lot. All right. He went through a lot. Yeah, damn, Judah. Judah wanted to make money off the situation, right? So they tell Israel, all right, Joseph was killed by a beast. They threw a bunch of blood on his coat. Said, all right, look, something bad happened to Joseph. We couldn't do nothing about it. Israel goes into a state of depression. Why? Because he lost his only, not his only, but his favorite son. All right. Jump over to chapter 39. We want to jump over to chapter 39. Now, his dream was that his brother, his mother and father would make obeisance to him. That's a weighty thing. In order to get to that point, look at what he had to go to. His brothers had to hate him. And then he was just sold to the Ishmaelites. So he's going down into Egypt as a slave right now. All right. So chapter 39, verse 1. And Joseph was brought down to Egypt, and Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh, captain of the guard, an Egyptian, bought him of the hands of the Ishmaelites, which had brought him down thither. And the Lord was with Joseph, and he was a prosperous man, and he was in the house of his master the Egyptian. And his master saw the Lord was with him, and that the Lord made all that he did to prosper in his hand. And Joseph found grace in his sight, and he served him, and he made him overseer of his house, and all that he had put into his hand. And it came to pass, from the time that he had made him an overseer in his house, and over all that he had, that the Lord blessed the Egyptian's house for Joseph's sake. And the blessing of the Lord was upon all that he had in the house and in the field. And he left all that he had in Joseph's hand, and he knew not aught he had, save the bread which he did eat. And Joseph was a goodly person and well favored. So imagine this. Joseph gets sold down into slavery. He gets set up by his brothers. And in the position that he's in, he's still prospering. That's what you brothers and sisters also have to understand. All right. You have to understand. Even when you get put in a lower state, because there's a lot that's given to us. All right. The kingdom of heaven is not some small thing. That's a lot that's given to us. When we're given that, when we're given the promise, and many of us may have certain roles to play until the kingdom comes, we have a lot that we have that's given to us. So there's a lot that's going to be required of us. All right. Joseph, he had a test of patience right here, which many of us have. A test of patience. All right. Joseph's test of patience was him knowing that he's in this situation a slave in the house of Pharaoh's captain of the guard because his brothers sold him into slavery. His own people sold him into slavery. All right. Now, not only was he sold into slavery, but he did what he was supposed to do. He took that low estate and took it cheerfully. All right. And was like, you know what? I'm in this position. I can't get out. So let me go ahead and do the best that I can here. And while he was doing the best that he can, guess what? Things started to flourish. Things started to flourish in his hand. All right. Reading on. Verse 7. And it came to pass after these things that his master's wife cast her eyes upon Joseph, and she said, lie with me. Now, among the many things that we have to deal with as brothers and sisters in this truth, the first thing, when things are going good, you got put in a low estate, things are now going good for you. Guess what happens now? Now lust, covetousness, that stuff starts to creep in. You start to get tried. Joseph's trial right here was Potiphar's wife. Now, many of us know that the Egyptian rulers, they probably didn't have no ugly wives. So you have this woman that's like, hey, won't you lie with me? It's a temptation for Joseph. Verse 8, but he refused and said unto his master's wife, behold, my master wotteth not what is with me in the house, and he hath committed all that he hath into my hand. There is none greater in this house than I, neither hath he kept back anything from me but thee, because thou art his wife. How then can I do this great wickedness and sin against God? In all this, he still was like, you know what? I still got to keep the commandments. I may be in the land of my enemies. I may be in the land that I don't know, and I'm a servant in this guy's house. But guess what? I still have to obey the rules of God. And he told her this, like, look, nah, you're not about to catch me up. That's against God. Though I may be in a lower state, because a lot of us, we get to a lower state and sin becomes something that we do. You get to a lower state, you start smoking cigarettes again. You get to a lower state, you start smoking weed again. You get to a lower state, you need that comfort sex that a lot of us go for. Your ex-boyfriend may call, your ex-girlfriend may call. Because you in a lower state, you go give them the time of day. And you sin against God. You're already put in a lower state to test you and to try you. And while you in this lower state, now you bucking up against the laws of God? No, we have to always remember to keep the commandments of God in our lower state. Verse 10. And it came to pass, as she spake to Joseph day by day, that he hearkened not unto her to lie by her or to be with her. And it came to pass about this time that Joseph went into the house to do his business, and there was none of the men of the house there within. And she caught him by his garment, saying, lie with me. And he left his garment in her hand and fled and got him out. So this female, who probably was not an ugly woman, grabbed him, and he left. He dipped out of his own garments and ran. Now watch this. Go to Sirach chapter 21, verse 2. This is one of the things that Joseph applied himself. Sirach chapter 21, verse 2 says, flee from sin as from the face of a serpent. For if thou comest too near it, it will bite thee, and the teeth thereof are as the teeth of a lion, slaying the souls of men. Joseph knew adultery, that's worthy of death. And I'm not about to do that. So this woman, this Egyptian woman, tempted Joseph. That's like many of y'all. Y'all have a major temptation that may come upon you. Remember, Joseph at this time was a young man. The stuff that happened to him, he was 17 years old. We don't know the amount of time that passed, between, well, actually, he was sold under Potiphar at 17 because he was sold down there into Egypt at 17. He was there for a long time as a young man in the house. And guess what? He said, you know what? I'm about to run. That's what a lot of us have to remember. Sometimes in our lower state, no matter what we're going through, you may have to run away from some sin. You got to get away from it. That's a serious, serious test. All right. Now, not only was he seriously tested by her physically, but watch this. Verse 13, and it came to pass when she saw that he had left his garment in her hand and was fled forth, that she called unto the men of her house and spake unto them, saying, see, he hath brought it in Hebrew unto us to mock us. And he came in unto me to lie with me, and I cried with a loud voice. And it came to pass when he heard that I lifted up my voice and cried, that he left his garment with me and fled and got him out. So this woman is now accusing Joseph of rape. A false accusation. False accusation. And guess what? Joseph didn't do nothing. This may happen to some of y'all in this truth. There may be false accusations that come up against you. There may be people that lie on you. Get it through your head. This ain't the kingdom. We're striving to get the kingdom. That's why he said, he that endureth to the end shall be saved. The end is coming. The end is not yet. So when we look at this, Joseph was sold, was hated by his brothers, hated by them in his own house. There was jealousy against him. He had plots against him from his own brothers. He was sold into slavery, right? While he was prospering in the situation that he was in, he had a false accusation where he had a temptation of lust on him. Lust was a big temptation on Joseph. He fled that temptation, and because he fought that temptation, he was accused of rape. Accused of rape. That's why a lot of times with you brothers, be careful on who you are around. Especially you brothers that are in the entertainment industry, that are athletes and all of that stuff. Y'all better leave them girls alone. You better leave them alone. Leave them alone. It is no profit to you to continue fornicating with those women. I just saw a story the other day. One of our brothers had a threesome with 2 Edomite women. Right? Whatever happened after that, they're both now saying he got us drunk and took advantage of both of us. And now he's going to jail because of these accusations. Now, whether or not he did it or not, it is what it is. I don't know. But I know one thing that he is guilty of: fornication with the other nations. That's a big thing. And he was a young man, just like Joseph was a young man. But Joseph kept his wits with him. The fear of God was on Joseph. And she accused him of rape. Now, verse 19. And it came to pass, when his master heard the words of his wife, which she spake unto him, saying, after this manner did thy servant to me, that his wrath was kindled. Now, put yourself in this position, right? She's accusing Joseph of rape. She tells this to her husband. Remember, men don't play around about their wife. This man could have killed Joseph. He could have taken Joseph's life. Remember, Egypt was a rising superpower at this time. This man could have done he could have got Joseph put to death. He could have killed him himself. Whatever. A lot of things could have happened to Joseph because of this wicked woman's false accusation. Verse 20. And Joseph's master took him and put him in the prison, a place where the king's prisoners were bound, and he was there in the prison. But the Lord was with Joseph and showed him mercy and gave him favor in the sight of the keeper of the prison. Now, go to 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 20. Show you another thing. How Joseph continued to be an example for us. 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 20. For what glory is it if, when ye be buffeted for your faults, you take it patiently? So what glory is it if you've done wrong and now you got to suffer the consequences of that wrong? There's no glory in that. You did some wrong stuff. Now you got to suffer the consequences of what you had to do wrong. All right. You steal stuff out of a store, or you rob somebody out of a store, and you go to jail. There's no glory in what you're doing in jail because you deserve to be there. You see what I'm saying? Like, if you're suffering consequences for what you've done yourself, there's no glory in that. But if when you do well and suffer for it, you take it patiently, this is acceptable with God. It's when you've done nothing wrong and you take it patiently, that's acceptable with God. That's the part that's acceptable with God. Look at Joseph. Joseph did nothing wrong. Nothing. He did nothing to his brothers and was sold into slavery. He came and did what he had to do in the house of the person that bought him. He was shown a lot of favor. Had a false accusation because he refused the temptation that she came with. Now he's in jail. Now he's in jail. Now that he's in jail, he's still taking it patiently. And guess what? Now he has favor with the keeper of the prison. See how the Lord is always he's always in the mix. He's always making sure that, all right, you may be in this position, but I got you. We have to be the ones to understand that in our lower state, God got us. Why? Because that's the requirement of us. A lot's given unto us, especially you brothers that pray to be leaders in the nation of Israel. There's a lot that's going to be required of you. Verse 22, and the keeper of the prison committed to Joseph's hand all the prisoners that were in the prison, and whatsoever they did there, he was the doer of it. And the keeper of the prison looked not to anything that was under his hand, because the Lord was with him, and that which he did, the Lord made it to prosper. So the Lord made these things to prosper in his hand, right? Go to 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 13. The reason why these things are so important to touch on in the history of Joseph is because he's not going through anything that none of us have gone through. He's not going through anything different. Everything that he's going through is stuff that we ourselves go through or have to go through. All right. 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 13. There hath no temptation taken you, but such as is common to man. But God is faithful, who will not suffer you to be tempted above that ye are able, but will with the temptation also make a way to escape, that ye may be able to bear it. So the temptations that took Joseph, hatred and envy of his own brothers, the temptation of women wanting to sleep with him, and the temptation of a false accusation. That's thus far. That's thus far. The things that happened to Joseph are things that happen to all of us at some point in our life. And guess what? At some point in this truth, it's going to happen to you again. It's going to happen to you again. Whether by our own people or whether by the other nations. You may be falsely accused on your job. You may be falsely accused or lied on in your family. You may be lied on by police. You may be lied on by brothers or sisters in the body. But guess what? If you are doing this and you're suffering patiently, but you're still doing well, that's acceptable with God. That's acceptable with God. You may have brothers that may lie on you. You take it patiently. You pray to the Most High. You gain that patience. And guess what? Then you start to see the Lord move them out of the way. You start to see you grow in the spirit, grow in faith, grow in patience, grow in wisdom. That's the whole duty. All right. Chapter 40. Verse 1. And it came to pass after these things that the butler of the king of Egypt and his baker had offended their lord the king of Egypt. And Pharaoh was wroth against two of his officers, against the chief butler and against the chief of the bakers. And he put them in ward in the house of the captain of the guard, into the prison, the place where Joseph was bound. And the captain of the guard charged Joseph with them, and he served them. And they continued a season in ward. So Joseph is now in jail. He is, given the responsibility of a lot of the things that's in the prison. He's looking out over the prisoners. He's giving a report to the keeper of the prison, right? Now, we're going to jump over to verse 14. Now, Joseph, the chief baker and the chief butler, both of them have a dream. Joseph now interprets that dream for them. That's one of the gifts that Joseph had, the interpretation of dreams. All right. So Joseph interpreted both of their dreams for them and let them know what was to happen and said, look, this is what he says. Verse 14, but think on me when it shall be well with thee, and show kindness, I pray thee, unto me, and make mention of me to Pharaoh, and bring me out of this house. For indeed I was stolen away out of the land of the Hebrews, and here also I have done nothing that they should put me into the dungeon. So he was like, look, I'm gonna help you out. Look, just help me out. All right, remember me. Don't forget about your boy. You know that's some black people. Look, hey, I'm gonna do this for you, but don't forget about your boy. All right, there's just don't forget about me. All right. So he interprets the dream, and this is what happens. Verse 16. When the chief baker saw that the interpretation was good, he said unto Joseph, I also was in my dream, and behold, I had 3 white baskets on my head. And the uppermost basket there was of all manner of baked meats for Pharaoh, and the birds did eat them out of the basket on my head. And Joseph answered and said, this is the interpretation thereof. The 3 baskets are 3 days. Yet within 3 days shall Pharaoh lift up thy head from off thee, and shall hang thee on a tree, and the birds shall eat thy flesh from off thee. And it came to pass the 3rd day, which was Pharaoh's birthday, that he made a feast unto all his servants, and he lifted up the head of the chief butler and the chief baker among his servants. And he restored the chief butler unto his butlership again, and gave the cup into Pharaoh's hand. But he hanged the chief butler, as Joseph had interpreted to him. Yet did not the chief butler remember Joseph, but forgot him. So even when Joseph did what he was supposed to do, he helped out in his lower state. He helped out who he needed to help out. Why? Because Joseph could have really been real petty and real depressed and to himself and says, you know what, I'm in jail. I ain't about to talk to nobody. To hell with all of y'all. He hit a dream. Yeah, I know what that dream means, but I ain't about to tell them nothing. You got to understand, we have to continue to be that light that shines upon us. I mean, that shines upon the world. All right. Go to Sirach chapter 4, verse 23. We have to continually be that light that shines. Don't ever allow your situation to cause you to now not show forth the gifts that you were given. You were given these gifts for a reason. A lot of times with the gifts that we're given, with the things that we are taught, temptations have to come to see if we're worthy to have those things. Just like we have to see if we're worthy to have the kingdom of heaven. So what has to happen? Temptations have to happen. Sin has to happen. We have to go through a whole lot. Like Christ said, we have to go through a lot. Through much struggle do we have to get the kingdom of heaven. All right. Sirach 4, verse 23. It said, and refrain not to speak when there is occasion to do good, and hide not thy wisdom in her beauty. So don't be afraid to speak. There are things that happen. Hey, there were times on a job that I used to work where Esau saw that I was not like everybody else. I was not like everybody else. So there was one time, no lie at all. There was one time where he called me into the office and the business was actually failing. And he was worried about what he could do, what he should do. So he called me in the office and he says, Matt, I see you all the time and you're always reading your Bible and, you're not like everybody else. And I just have to ask you one question. What is the Lord telling you? I knew what he was talking about. I said, well, the Lord is telling me to provide for my household. That's what the Lord is telling me. Now, there were things that he could have done that would have saved the business from actually going under, but he refused to do those things. All right. And he told me straight up, like, look, I may be making the worst mistake of my life, but I'm not about to do this. And I know this may cost me the business, but this is what I'm not about to do. So I had already been looking for another job. So when he asked me that, I said, well, the Lord is telling me to take care of my house. I'm saying that to say these nations can see, they can tell when the Lord is dealing with you. They're able to tell when the Lord is dealing with you because your works, your fruits will show forth of it. It's not going to be something that's just going to be, this is no. They're going to know that, hey, there's something different about this sister. There's something different about this brother. Let me stick close. Let me pick their brain every now and then. Don't be afraid. I used to give Esau relationship counsel based on the scriptures. The job that I used to work at, oh man, I don't know what to do. I was like, well, you could do this, you could do that. And everything that I said came out of the scriptures. And what did they say? Oh man, that's deep. I never thought about it like that. Why? Real quick, get Deuteronomy 4. Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 6. It said, keep therefore and do them, for this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the nations, which shall hear all these statutes and say, surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people. So like the scripture saying, Sirach, don't hide your wisdom in your beauty. Don't hide your wisdom in her beauty. I used to give them counsel because they used to ask me things. And instead of being a dummy and just ignoring them and be like, oh, the hell with you, Esau, damn devil. No. That's why Christ said, make ye therefore friends of the mammon of unrighteousness. Because when it came down to it, when people was starting to get fired, when OSHA was coming down there, guess who was protected? Why? Because they knew, well, Matt is different, but Matt's a good person. That's their thought. In my mind, I don't give a damn about none of them. But, hey, these things have to go on because you have to show forth, just like our forefather Joseph did, you have to show forth that, okay, I'm going to keep the commandments and I'm still going to do well, even though I'm in my low estate. Why? Because there's a lot that's going to be required of me later. Now, he was in jail, right? Chapter 41, verse 1. Genesis chapter 41, verse 1. And it came to pass at the end of 2 full years that Pharaoh dreamed, and behold, he stood by the river, and behold, there came up out of the river 7 well-favored kine, fat-fleshed, and they fed in a meadow. And behold, 7 other kine came up after them out of the river, ill-favored and lean-fleshed, and stood by the river, and still by the other kine upon the brink of the river. 2 full years. He didn't help the baker. He didn't help the butler. Interpreted their dreams. One of them was restored. It's like, bruh, 2 years, 2 full years. They forgot about it. 2 full years passed after he helped, right? So Pharaoh is now having a dream. Now, verse 9. Pharaoh is now having a dream. Pharaoh calls everybody like, yo, I had this dream. I need to know the interpretation of it immediately. All right. Verse 9. Then he spake the chief butler unto Pharaoh, saying, I do remember my faults this day. Pharaoh was wroth with his servants and put me in ward in the captain of the guard's house, both me and the chief baker. And we dreamed a dream in one night, I and he. And we dreamed each man according to the interpretation of his dream. And there was with us a young man in Hebrew, servant to the captain of the guard. And we told him, and he interpreted to us our dreams. To each man according to his dream did he interpret. And it came to pass, as he interpreted to us, so it was. Me he restored unto mine office, and him he hanged. So, because Joseph did so well, because Joseph still kept the commandments, he still did well in his low estate, dude was like, oh man, you know what? I remember. There was a Hebrew that helped us out and told us what our dream meant. Now, Pharaoh had a dream. He wanted to know the meaning of it. Because of the work that he did before, his work was remembered and was like, yo, Pharaoh, there's somebody that can help you with this. There's somebody that can help you with this. Like, all right, well, go get him. Verse 14. Then Pharaoh sent and called Joseph, and they brought him hastily out of the dungeon. And he shaved himself and changed his raiment and came in unto Pharaoh. And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, I have dreamed a dream, and there is none that can interpret it. And I have heard say of thee that thou canst understand a dream to interpret it. So remember, the stuff that was happening with Joseph, he was sold. Well, he was hated by his brethren. He had no love in his own house. His brothers envied him. They took him and sold him into slavery, right? While he was in slavery, things started to go well for him, all right, because he was doing well in his low estate. He continued to do well. He was tempted by a woman. He was lied on by that same woman. He was thrown in jail. Even in jail, he still did well. He still did his job. He still did what he was supposed to do. He still kept his wits about him. There were 2 men that were in jail that he helped out. After he helped those men out, he still remained in jail another 2 full years before any of his deeds were even remembered.
Check it out.
All right. So now that the Pharaoh needs him, guess what? He's able to show forth his wisdom on a major scale. Able to show forth his wisdom on a major scale, which can help get him out of his lower state. All right. Now we're going to jump over, because we're not going to read the whole interpretation of the dream. Basically, there were 7 fat kinds, 7 ill-favored kinds, skinny, slim, lean. The fat kind were 7 years of plenty. The lean kind, or cows, were 7 years of famine, right? So Joseph understood that famine was coming after the plenteous years. He came up with a plan to save the food so that over the course of the famine, they'll have food in Egypt. All right. Now we're going to jump to verse 37. Genesis chapter 41, verse 37. And the thing was good in the eyes of Pharaoh and in the eyes of all his servants. And Pharaoh said unto his servants, can we find such a one as this? Can we find such a one as this is, a man in whom the Spirit of God is? And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, for as much as God has showed thee all this, there is none so discreet and wise as thou art. Did we just read that in Deuteronomy? They're going to hear all of these statutes, and they didn't hear it. They saw the application of the laws of God and said, man, this is a wise young brother. Just like when we apply the laws of God, they say, man, this is a wise and understanding people. Verse 40, doubt shall be over my house, and according to thy word shall all my people be ruled. Only in the throne will I be greater than thou. Look at this. So first he was put over the house of Potiphar, right? False accusation came and he was put in jail. Then he was put over the jail, right? Deeds were not remembered. He remained in jail. Now, because of his good deeds, he is now put over all Egypt. Only person that's above him is Pharaoh. He is over all Egypt. Now, could he have taken that responsibility without going through certain things? Could he have taken that responsibility and had that much power without being patient when his brothers did him wrong, without being patient while being falsely accused, while being patient, while being tempted by that woman, while being patient as he sat in jail? You think as a young man, he would have been able to handle this? No, because as a young man, he would have probably messed up a lot of different things because he was young and immature and had no experience. But because this was always destined to happen to him, for him to be the ruler in Egypt, the second in command in Egypt, it was always destined for him to be this. He had to go through certain things in order for him to be able to accept that responsibility. So when we look at this, he didn't go through these things for nothing. He went through these things to prepare him for what was to come. This may be a brother getting a certain rank. This may be with a brother getting certain responsibilities. A lot of these different things is a lot of things that's required of us as leaders. And sometimes we have to go through the fire in order to come out on the other side and be like, you know what? All right, I can accept this now. Sometimes God won't give us certain things because we're not ready for it. Verse 41, and Pharaoh said unto Joseph, see, I have set thee over all the land of Egypt. And Pharaoh took off his ring from his hand and put it on Joseph's hand. And he arrayed him in vestures of fine linen and put a gold chain about his neck and made him to ride in the second chariot which he had. And they cried before him, bow the knee. And he made him ruler over all the land of Egypt. And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, I am Pharaoh, and without thee shall no man lift up his hand or foot in all the land of Egypt. And Pharaoh called Joseph's name Zephnath-Paneah. And he gave him to wife Asenath, the daughter of Potiphar, the priest of On. And Joseph went out over all the land of Egypt. Now, Joseph could have easily said, you know what? I remember Potiphar's wife falsely accused me. I'm about to go get her put to death. Did he do that? No. No. He could have said, man, the baker and the butler, see, the baker died. But see, now I'm going to go get the butler because he forgot about me. Nope, didn't do that either. What he did was he accepted it just like he accepted everything else that came before him. He accepted this high position just like he accepted everything else that came before him. All right, watch this. Get Psalm 75 and 6. Psalms chapter 75, verse 6. Psalm 75, verse 6. For promotion cometh neither from the east, nor from the west, nor from the south. But God is the judge. He putteth down one and setteth up another. Promotion comes from the Lord. Joseph was promoted to number 2 in Egypt. Why? Because it was of the Lord. All of that stuff that he had gone through from the time he was 17 up until this point was preparing him to be ruler in Egypt. It was preparing him to be ruler in Egypt. Now watch this. Let's jump to chapter 42, verse 1. I like this history because it really shows that black people, this is black people in the Bible. Now when Jacob saw that there was corn in Egypt, Jacob said unto thy sons, why do ye look one upon another? The reason why I like this, it may be small to a lot of people, but the reason why I like this first verse is because I can hear, now this is written in Old English, but I can hear my uncle or my daddy or, you know, a family member of mine saying, what y'all standing around looking so dumb for? What y'all looking so stupid for? Go do something. I don't know about y'all, but when I was growing up, you just sat around looking all kind of crazy. You got called out on it. What the hell you just sitting around looking all crazy for? Go outside. Go do something. Go get you some business. Let me read it again. Now when Jacob saw that there was corn in Egypt, Jacob said to his sons, why do you look one upon another? And he said, behold, I have heard that there is corn in Egypt. Get you down thither and buy for us from thence, that we may live and not die. So they found out, okay, there's corn in Egypt. There's a famine that's going on right now. It's a drought. Look, y'all need to go out there and get some stuff for us so that we won't die out here of starvation. Now, we're going to jump to verse 7. And Joseph saw his brethren, and he knew them, but made himself strange unto them, and spake roughly unto them. And he said unto him, whence come ye? And they said, from the land of Canaan to buy food. And Joseph knew his brethren, but they knew not him. Why? Why? Because Joseph did not have a beard. Joseph had makeup on his face. Joseph was smooth-faced. He looked like an Egyptian. He looked like an Egyptian. Now, Joseph could have easily been like, you know what? Y'all sold me into slavery in Egypt. And I'm about to put all y'all to death. I'm about to kill all y'all. All y'all got to go. But no, he did not do that. Watch this. Verse 9, and Joseph remembered the dreams which he dreamed of them, and said unto them, ye are spies, to see the nakedness of the land ye are come. He said he remembered that dream. He remembered that dream. Remember, his brethren, his sheaf stood up, and their sheaves made obeisance to him. What are they doing right now? The 11. They're making obeisance to him. Why? Because they got to come to him for food. Though they don't know that it is him, they got to come to him for food. They got to come to him with all respect and lowliness and humbleness. They got to come to him now. So Joseph remembered that. Verse 10, they say unto him, nay, my Lord, but to buy food are thy servants come. We are all one man's sons. We are true men. Thy servants are no spies. So we're going to jump down to verse 18. And Joseph said unto them the third day, this do and live, for I fear God. If ye be true men, let one of your brethren be bound in this house of your prison. Go ye and carry corn for the famine of your houses, but bring your youngest brother unto me. So shall your words be verified, and ye shall not die. And they did so. And they said one to another, we are verily guilty concerning our brother, in that we saw the anguish of his soul when he besought us, and we would not hear. Therefore is this distress come upon us. And Reuben said unto them, saying, spake I not unto you, saying, do not sin against the child, and you would not hear? Therefore, behold, also his blood is required. And they knew not that Joseph understood them, for he spake unto them by an interpreter. So Joseph is sitting there. He's like, look, if y'all ain't spies, go get your little brother and bring him here to me, which is Joseph's little brother, same mother, same father, right? So while they were saying that, Reuben like, bro, I told y'all. See, that's how you know this is black people. Reuben like, man, I told y'all don't touch that dude. I told y'all don't touch it. Now look at all of this stuff happening to us. Now, Joseph understood that. He's listening to them. Now, he's speaking to them by interpreter, right? Acting as if he doesn't speak their language, but he does. He understands it perfectly. And he said, verse 24, and he turned himself about from them and wept, and turned to them again and communed with them, and took from them Simeon and bound him before their eyes. So remember, he took Simeon. Now Joseph, he could have done anything, but he heard them, and which was probably a confirmation of his faith. Like, man, they my brothers, they did do this to me, but one of them, the oldest, told them don't do it. And now they see the error of their ways. They see that what they've done was a horrible thing to me. And now it's Joseph's job now to forgive them of that. Why not forgive him? He's already the ruler of Egypt. If he wasn't sold to the Ishmaelites, he would have never been in Potiphar's house. If he was never accused of rape, he would have never been in prison. If he would have never been in prison, he would have never interpreted the dream of the butler and the baker. If he would have never interpreted the dream, he would have never been brought up before Pharaoh to interpret his dream. Then he would have never been able to give Pharaoh proper counsel on to how to survive this famine. Then he would have never been number 2 in Egypt. Joseph's brothers would have never been able to come down to Egypt in order to get food to bring back to their families. Joseph was meant, go to Sirach 49 and 15. Joseph was meant to do something great, but he was not going to do it until he actually was ready for it. And sometimes we got to go through some things in order to make sure that we're ready. Sirach 49 verse 15. Neither was there a man born like unto Joseph, a governor of his brethren, a stay of the people, whose bones were regarded of the Lord. Remember, his bones were regarded. How do we know that? Because when the children of Israel left out of Egypt, what did they do? They took the bones of Joseph with them. They took the bones of Joseph with them. All right. Now we're going to jump over. When y'all get a chance, read this history. Genesis chapter 37 all the way to 50. This is some good history. I like this history. I'm going to just jump over to chapter 45. Chapter 45, verse 1. All right. Then Joseph could not refrain himself before all that stood by him, and he cried, "Cause every man to go out from me." And there stood no man with him, while Joseph made himself known to his brethren. And he wept aloud, and the Egyptians in the house and the house of Pharaoh heard. And Joseph said unto his brethren, I am Joseph. Doth my father yet live? And his brethren could not answer him, for they were troubled at his presence. And Joseph said unto his brethren, Come near, I pray you. And they came near, and said, I am Joseph your brother, whom ye sold into Egypt. Now therefore be not grieved, nor angry with yourselves that ye sold me hither. For God did send me before you to preserve life. How important is that? How important is that? God sent me here. He didn't say you sent me here. He understood the things that happened to me were of the Lord. God sent me here to preserve life. Because if he wasn't the one that's going to do it, guess what? Nobody else was going to come up with a way to keep all of the food stored up for 7 years of famine. There was no way for him there was no way for anybody else to understand that. The Egyptians did not have that knowledge. They did not have that knowledge. They got that knowledge from our forefather. If Joseph hadn't been through what he went through, we wouldn't be here. Because we would have never went down to Egypt. We would have never went to Egypt. We would have either died off early or we would have moved to another place. But we would not have went to Egypt. We wouldn't have been living in Dothan. Oh, I mean, not Dothan, Goshen. We would not have been living in Goshen. The Egyptians would not have put us in slavery. We would not be a nation of people today if Joseph had not done what he did. Just look, your situation ain't just you. Yeah, Joseph went through it, but guess what? His brothers had to deal with the consequences of that. His father had to deal and suffer grief because of that. His father was grieved. His brethren was grieved. Joseph was grieved. Joseph's test was not just for him. Joseph's test was for everybody. Joseph's test involved a lot of people. It involved Potiphar's wife because she was an adulteress. And Joseph probably wasn't the only one who she tried. It's just that Joseph was the only one that told her no. So she was upset. He was a test for Potiphar. He was a test for the butler and the baker. He was a test for Pharaoh. He was a test for his brothers. When you look at this, yeah, though we was going through some things, guess what? We were still meant to keep the commandments and do well.
We used to scream black power while heroin was pushed. But at the end of the day, nothing's in vain. IUIC has been given a vision. The tents of Judah has risen. Many has attempted the mission, minor murmuring, omitting and missing the mark. Just reading that he had the flame of fire in his eyes gave us the spark. We on Paul's mission. We out on the road, purple and gold, from Mexico, Cuba, Haiti, Ghana, Sierra Leone. 144,000 boots banging, concrete crackling. These are our men repented at heart. The scriptures is proof. IUIC, we deliver the truth.